Gino, thank you very much for your time today, King. We really appreciate you. I want to give a shout out to our community member Guns for connecting us and throwing the idea into the universe and making it happen. So thank you very much, Guns. And Gino, thanks for joining us today. We've got Gino the Ghost joining us today for our weekly Rad Twitter space. And Gino is a multi-platinum Grammy award-winning producer. Many times platinum, actually. Man is doing a lot out here. He's based in Los Angeles, currently in Miami, and originally from Detroit. He has a very long list of frequent collaborators, recently including Saweetie, Jhene Aiko, The Chainsmokers, Nathy Peluso, Timbaland, KBZ, Hit Boy, Scott Storch, Trap Money Benny, and many more. And our man has been a great contributor to the space. He's got several apes and involved in many communities, especially the Fluff World right now, which is how we've been connecting through the Aura DAO since we picked up our Fluff and our Burrow, and Fluff World absolutely murdering it right now. We linked over a post about Spotify saying they are a tech company and not really focused on music anymore. And that was kind of what prompted our initial connection. And it's a very interesting time in the Web3 space as we're all yelling decentralization and getting away from these titan platforms that are able to control and do everything they choose to do, whether that be revenue based or politically based or whatever that means. It's just a really interesting time that we have such dynamic tools available. And even though they're not fully fleshed out, I think we're all on the same page of how these tools can shape our future. And I think everybody on this chat right now is probably, their mind goes crazy when they start thinking about all of the potential that this space offers. And I know my good friend Infinite Third, Billy Mays, is joining us today. It's something that him and I have talked about for the last 15 years. And especially the last 10 years or so, we have really been excited about these opportunities. And to have both Gino and Infinite Third joining us today, as well as our CEO, John Anthony, and our CTO, Brooklyn Eric, on the call is pretty special for myself, just because we're just getting started with this. And to be able to do these chats and connect all these people live on Twitter is an incredible thing to be able to do. So what a time. Welcome, everyone. Awesome. And thank you very much, Gino.
Yeah. And it looks like MorganPage, the legend, has joined as well.
Oh, has Morgan jumped in as well? Where's he at? I see. Inviting you to speak now, Morgan. Thank you very much. The legend, MorganPage, everyone. DJ, entrepreneur. Great to have everyone here today. So I don't even know really where to start. Gino, if you'd like to jump in and maybe give us a little background on your time in the space and what you're excited about right now, what you're working on.
Yeah, sure, man. So thanks again for having me, guys. I'm, very excited to, I always compare like the beginning of like this experience for me was kind of the same feeling I got when I first started doing music, right? You kind of get that like kid in a candy store type feeling. It's kind of this untapped world for you. You're excited. I think what's been most cool for me is just being able to leverage, the success I've had in the relationship in the music industry and, bring those relationships into this world and help build it with a bunch of brilliant, great thinkers, and not only build like the metaverse, but build what the new music industry is going to look like, right? And how the music industry is going to fit
right
in Web3. And so I was very fortunate. One of the first collections I got into happens to also be like this revolutionary, insane project, Fluff World, which is being built by like the smartest minds in the space. So I was very fortunate for that to be like one of the first projects I invested in, just like as an investment standpoint. And that's kind of what got me into the audio NFT space. Because, for those who don't know about Fluff World, it's a multimedia NFT with a musical component to it. So each NFT has NFTs within it, the background and the audio.
It's awesome.
And so, so I reached out to the team like, I'm a multi-platinum Grammy winner trying to get into the space. cool. Do you guys need music? Like, how can I get in? You know? And it started with just like a way for me to like try to get an NFT. I was like, yo, can I do some music for like an NFT? You know, because I wanted another fluff.
Right.
And we just kind of started chopping it up and figured out like we had a really cool opportunity to join forces and work together. And so they brought me on, and it's been a great experience from there. You know, and from there I've been working with a lot of other great projects. You know, Doodles, Bored Ape. I'm launching my own collection in March, and
awesome.
Just, you know, a couple things I can't say yet for NDAs that time. Yeah, but some very exciting stuff, and yeah, it's just been a lot of fun, like just exploring and building and breaking shit and building shit and making money and making music. So
yeah, I feel that we actually connected with the McDonald's and everybody over at XYZ through Aura, which is our peer-to-peer file distribution protocol. And we were very excited about everything they were doing with Fluffs as well. Just all the different components of, like you said, each piece is an NFT, the background, the music, everything. And it's been a pretty exciting journey over the past couple months to watch them develop and everything they've rolled out. And, you know, now they've added in Party Bears, and the Den reveal was such a big moment in the space, and it seems like that momentum is not stopping. I mean, it really seems like they could be the top project in the space if they're not right now in a lot of people's eyes, very soon. I mean, it's just nonstop delivery.
It's funny. Yeah, you nailed it, man. It's been, I think a lot of people, you know, I've been trying to get people to buy this project forever when the floor was like 0.9, you know, but people like expensive things, right? So as the floor's gone up, the eyes have started, you know, I've had a lot of people all of a sudden like, yo, so what's up with Fluff World? Like, should I get a Fluff? And I think a lot of people's, you know, the question is like, all right, like once they drop the burrows, which for those who don't know is the virtual land that they dropped, right, for all holders. I think people thought they were going to pull back, and they kind of haven't really. I mean, they did a little bit, but like what a lot of people don't know about this collection, and I'm in a lot of projects. Again, this community is the most passionate, like invested community with the most conviction of really any project I've been a part of. It's insane.
Yeah, it really seems like they know what they want, and the community's been very vocal. Like I said, Guns just really, it seems like they have a lot of alignment of what the community wants, and the lore behind it of where we're headed is pretty solidified there. And it does seem like, you know, that is where we're going, and it's an interesting build out to start. You know, a lot the conversation we've had recently is like Overland and Decentraland. They started with their worlds, and Tony brought this up like a week ago, that they all started with their empty worlds. And what's interesting is to go the opposite way of, let's start with all the assets that are going to live in this world, and then when we launch the world, it's populated day one, and the community's already there. There's already owners. There's already people there that are excited and have been anticipating that drop, as opposed to people standing around the empty room, and we can call it a world. But a lot more to do, a lot more to see, a lot more to think about. You know, as we talk about this, I'd love to hear your thoughts on the future of music. And you mentioned the term music NFTs, and that's something that's really excited myself, and I'm sure Brooklyn and Morgan and Infinite Third as well. And you guys feel free to chime in whenever. I've invited you all as speakers, so don't be shy. Feel free to jump in whenever. But, you know, we've all been excited about the potential of music NFTs and what that distribution model looks like, what that ownership model looks like, what the production raise looks like, what the entire, it changes the entire thought process of what the signal flow of production to marketing looks like. And I'm interested to hear any of the artists' thoughts on this call of where you all see this headed and what really excites you right now. Gino, do you have anything to add there?
Yeah, well, I'm outside. You guys, does it sound loud?
No, you sound great.
Nope. Am I here, right?
Sounds great.
Okay, fantastic. So yeah, I think like, and I can kind of dive into this more, but I think what the cool opportunity it presents is a new way to distribute music. I think like the current model is just like, it's hella stale. There's a statistic that came out that 80% of music being consumed today is old music. The new music is not sticking. And I think a lot of it is because everyone's attention span is just like so fast, but also like there's no connectivity. There's no music just feels very, how do I say, like very flat. You know, I feel like the relationship with the art and the audio isn't there like it used to be when you would like buy an album, you know, and like the body of work was more flushed and thought out. And I think that has kind of like a roots problem. It's a problem with the roots of the industry right now. Like everyone's chasing the single, and no one's really creating anything authentic. Obviously, there's great records that come out every day, but
right.
I think what's cool about NFTs is it's a new way to package audio, right? And so, you know, like album art used to mean something. The music video used to mean something, and it just doesn't really mean anything anymore. Yeah. And I think what's cool about NFTs at the very core is, this is a dope like piece of art, like a product that as a consumer I can buy, and it's exciting to me, right? But I think also like just being able to mobilize and engage your fan base is also something that's really exciting about this, right? So traditionally, like up until recently, there's really no incentive to being a fan. And there's definitely no incentive to being a super fan.
Right.
So like, I like to always compare like the Rihanna army on Twitter. You know, they have these crazy rabid fans that are just like all day, every day on here, like shilling Rihanna, jumping in random people's mentions, like just constantly. Well, they don't actually, there's no monetary incentive to doing that. And I think what's really cool about this is like now you can directly invest in artists that you support and love, and you become a marketing mechanism for that artist. And you're directly compensated. The more successful the artist is, the bigger the project gets, the bigger the song gets, the value goes up, your price goes up. And now you're pretty much like building up the artist and coming along with them.
Right. And
yeah, I think that's invaluable.
Yeah, this is a similar model. This is what really got me, a little background on me. My name's Cameron Gray, Gino, and I usually like to join from my personal account, but I don't like having to have my rad app open. But Bill and I, Infinite Third and I, we really got interested in Aura several years ago for this simple thought of, we would like to include communities and like to incentivize, especially as independent artists that are just getting going. You do have some fans that are far more vocal than others. You do have people that hit like on every tweet. You do have people that are really there supporting you every inch of the way. And then you have, people that are less active or not on Twitter every day. And to be able to reward someone in a way that they actually see real life value, that's not just a concert ticket for a street team after you've been pounding the winter streets of Columbus putting up flyers for a week or whatever it is. It really does seem like there is a model there that is both peering and node related, that there is some extraction points where users could have say, could have ownership, could be earning right along with the artist, where when that artist succeeds, they are happy for themselves because they too are succeeding in some way. And that's Bill, I know I've invited you to speak a couple times. I know you got the baby and on a little busy today, so really appreciate you joining. And same with you, Morgan. If you guys want to chime in at all here, just feel free to jump in. And Tony, I know your voice is a little down. Brooklyn, you as well. But this is, as we're uploading things to the air quotes metaverse, being able to own something. Gary Vee's talked about this a lot the past several months. That's been a really, it's really hit for me, of being able to own something forever and know that it's stored in your account forever, and having access to that forever, everyone being able to see it online, since we're all sharing our digital worlds far more than we are our analog worlds these days. Nobody gets to see your sneaker collection. Nobody gets to see all the CDs that you bought. And, I was that guy that was going out every Tuesday and Friday and buying albums for years growing up, and saving up $10 as a kid to go get the next album that came out or whatever it was. And to not be able to show those things anymore. I have a huge iTunes library with tens of thousands of songs in it of everything that I've digitized over the years, but it's not the same as having a huge stack of records or CDs, and somebody can come over and go through those and pull out that artwork. And that's what really got me into music, was going through College Dropouts insert, the booklet, and seeing who produced, seeing Kilhoffer, seeing Manny Marroquin, seeing Mike Dean, seeing all John Legend playing piano on so many cuts. And then you see that Elton John played piano on this, and you didn't even know he was on it. It's like, what? He's just getting Elton John just for the piano in the back. And like, that was a different aspect that really we don't see today. Just reading through your bio today is so impressive. If I had physical artwork and text on there, I may have more incentivized place to find out this information about the people that we're supporting and working with. And it is a really fun time to be considering all these different distribution models. So moving on from Fluff World.
Well, one thing I'll add to that too is, and kind of gets into the nuts and bolts of the industry, and that how smart contracts play into this, and it's why it's so scary to a lot of the big labels and whatnot, is because you can split revenue automatically between everybody who's involved. And so not just royalties to the fans, but like one of the most annoying things is like I've put records out. I don't produce as much now, but have stuff on Spotify, and and occasionally I'll get an email from IOTA or whoever it is, and they'll be like, you have a royalty for 6 cents. And I'm like, how many parts of the chain did that go through? Like, it went through Spotify, it went through Spotify's black box, it went through the aggregator's black box, and then it went through the label's black box, and then it made it to me. And that was like probably 6-9 months later or whatever. And so from like a royalty split perspective, and even what we were doing in kind of 2017, 2018 with smart contracts was like, trying to think, how can you replace the entirety of a paper contract that can be, 50 or 100 pages long, depending on the deal that you're doing. And, how can you remove the black box and have even, 20 people who could be getting paid out? You could be paying the keyboard, the guitarist, the drummer, like everybody who's getting royalties is getting paid immediately, and you can audit the code kind of publicly. So there's a big disruption there.
Yeah, I think you nailed it. Yeah, you nailed it, man. I mean, I think like the biggest issue today is royalties. And like, I've been very vocal just about how fucking terrible payouts are for producers and writers. Artists too, but I mean, I think the people that really get hit the hardest, are the writers and the producers. And
Absolutely.
There was like a graphic that went around that like was really shocking to a lot of people, like how little a million streams generates. I think what's even more alarming, that if people knew that those numbers aren't even what you get most times. So like,
just generous.
For those who don't know, one stream is 0.003 cents. A million streams generates about $700 in publishing revenue total, and 100 million streams generates about $7,000 if you have 30%.
Crazy.
Most times it's about 15 to 20% on a record, I'd say. And again, it is very, very, very difficult to get a record with 100 million streams. Platinum record.
Right. It's not just, doesn't just happen.
Work their whole life in music. Yeah. I mean, I'm very fortunate to be, I'm 5 times platinum, and I'm very fortunate, and I've had big records, but very transparently, have not made any money on DSPs from those records. All my money has come from radio.
Wow.
And so what people don't realize is not only do you not really make a lot of money on DSPs, but again, you have to wait at minimum 9 months to see those royalties. And they're not always accurate. They're not usually accurate.
Right.
And in order to, make sure that they're accurate and collected everything properly, you need to audit your publisher or audit the label, and that's very expensive. Really,
and the performance royalties as well.
Smart contracts.
What'd you say there, Morgan?
I was going to say the biggest black box, at least in the club world, is performance royalties. No one's properly reporting. They're all relying on self-reporting. Most people don't know you have to fill out a BMI or ASCAP form for live play, and even that it's totally manual. It's such a mess, and I think there's a lot of entrenched interests that don't want that system to be transparent. There's a lot of middlemen that rely on that black box because they reinvest the money in the black box. So it's such a mess. And I've been trying to work with Pioneer and some of these other companies so that there's ways that it would automatically transmit kind of the pulse of what's playing in every nightclub in the world, every festival. But it's a system that's never happened because nobody really wants it to happen. Unfortunately,
right.
None of the incentives align beyond the artists.
I'm interested to know what you all think about Blau's Royal and what you guys think of NFT music as a whole. And this is something that we've talked about for years. Of it would be really nice if everything were on chain and everything were pulled from chain and everything were digitized and tracked, and then there was no question. You'd see how many transactions there were that were equal to a play and where those funds went that were generated immediately. Do you all see that in the future, or do you see a more hybrid model? And you both mentioned the term accounting and the ability to audit, and that's kind of been my argument in the space is, if I don't have the right to audit the entire organization and where all that money's going, then I don't have an accurate representation of where those funds are coming and going. Do you guys have any thoughts on that and the future of music NFTs as a whole? Do you think it's song stored on chain that are being distributed to all of these Titan platforms, or do you see it working some other way? I'd love to hear your thoughts, Morgan. Gino.
Well, I just talked to Royal a couple of days ago. Yeah. We may do a project with them. I'm not sure, but the timing happens to be great because I have a lot of catalog that's reverting back. I'm getting them out. Some of these songs are 15 years old, like Longest Road, and it's a really exciting time because I can get control of these songs and really see from scratch. Now that I can own them outright, where the money is and who's been doing their job and who hasn't with labels in the past. It's always been a mixed bag with labels, leaning on them for the platform. But I think I think the problem with the traditional release in the past is that employees of the label aren't incentivized to really kill it for you, to really go out. They're getting paid, some base salary. All people doing the work are not getting properly paid. So the incentives are never aligned. So I think now if you go with a project like Royale and they get their 10% on the primary sale and 10% on the secondary, the incentives are aligned and it's transparent. You can see it. So it's going to be a really interesting test to see if we do go ahead with a project with them, what will stick and give these songs a new life.
Yeah. I think what I'm excited to see is just where, where does streaming go? Like, is there going to be streaming on chain per se, or is it going to be, I don't necessarily think that like companies like Spotify and Apple Music are going to completely like dissipate. It's not really realistic to think that. And I think it's also not realistic to think, I have a theory that, I'm not the only one with this theory, but I think true decentralization is a myth. I think it's going to be very difficult.
Absolutely.
It's
already decentralized.
Just like true democracy is also a myth. So these centralized entities will exist. And I think the ones that will survive, though, will be the ones that implement blockchain and, do it in a way that's fair. Because the reality is, if creators can go out there and drop their own project and raise $250,000 in 30 minutes to drop, then why would they use a service or a platform or a label that isn't paying them fairly, giving them a fair split? So I think I think the future of audio NFTs is, the beauty of it is it's going to take many different forms. And that's what's cool about Web3. It can be anything.
Choices.
There's limitless possibilities. The only way to distribute music today is this current model.
Yep.
The fact that you can literally like build a world, the fact that you can drop, a visualizer, you could drop, I think the idea of literally buying into the royalties of a song is very exciting. I think I'm curious to see if it's going to be as lucrative as people think. I mean, it's been interesting. I've been approached by a lot of different Web2 companies that have over the past 4 years that have a business model in place where people can buy into your actual publishing and your royalties on songs, right? And that's they've been people are spending $50,000 to buy 3% of da song, and it's man, if only those people knew how unlucrative that was. You know what I mean?
You should have bought an ape or a clone or something, fam.
Terrible idea. Yeah, that's a terrible idea, because to see that money, obviously, but I don't know. I'm curious to see where it goes, I guess.
I'll just jump in and add on to that. I'm also super curious to see where it goes. Right before the Nas drop happened on Royal, I read an analysis that somebody did kind of breaking down the numbers. And it was basically, his conclusion out of it was basically I'm not telling you not to go invest in this. I'm not saying that this isn't the future, but just based on these numbers and based on the streams that it's likely to get, the people buying into kind of the lower tier that they were selling aren't going to be making real passive income that's going to be meaningful for them. So it's more in that scenario, just based on this guy's analysis, he was it's more of I'm a fan and this is an exciting thing and I want it to be part of my kind of Web3 NFT portfolio. And I want to show support for this artist, which there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But yeah, I am also so interested to see, is it co-ownership with fans having co-ownership of songs? Is that what really takes off? Or is it some kind of mix? Is it them supporting you guys as artists through other types of NFTs that you put out or social tokens? There's so many kind of tools that are coming out of this Web3 space. And I don't even know if it's one or the other. It also might be some sort of interesting mix of all of them.
Yeah, big time. I think Gino mentioned this earlier, but sort of the super fan angle, I think, is going to be in the near term very cool, where you could have an entire package to present where maybe you do get a little bit of royalties in a song, but also you get to pick up a backstage experience for that year, or you get unreleased tracks sent to your email, and so again, bringing back sort of that super fan vibe and feeling connected with your favorite artist. I think there's a huge near-term opportunity in that space.
Yeah, I totally agree. I also think that with the rise of the influencer community and just the exposure artists have been able to have through new tools on the internet, artists are becoming more brands within their own right. And so there's so much, there's so much they can do for their collective fan bases outside of just maybe their main expertise, whether it be music or acting or art or whatever.
Skills, I went ahead. I saw you requested. If you'd like to say something, feel free. Probably a good point to bring up a little bit about Aura, and maybe Tony, you could chime in. But the basis of Aura Blocks was a peer-to-peer protocol, and it's basically a upload once, distribute everywhere, and it's similar to the centralized TuneCore or DistroKid or there's several other services now that are popular as well. But similar to that, but in our idea of how this model would play out is everyone would pull from the one upload, and that would give artists the ability to clearly see exactly what is going on with their music, tracking from one source, one file, as opposed to I upload once and now it's on 55, 100 platforms, whatever it is. And, TuneCore has like 70 platforms these days, and then 6 or 7 social media, air quotes, platforms that are the same, but it's a different distribution model. And that's something that really interests me and our team, is the ability to streamline what it takes for an artist to reach everyone. And that's something that I'm not sure, looking at the entire landscape, if that's going to get more streamlined or more fractionalized as we move forward, as there are so many outlets now. And are these metaverse worlds going to be their own platforms in the future, where when I go to any service to upload music, I'm going to have to select, send this to the fluff world, send this to the ape world, send this to the radical world, whatever it is that we're doing. It's a pretty interesting time to see how many options artists have, and as many complaints as independent artists have, or things to say aren't going the way we would love them to keep our families fed and to get the most out of our creations. It definitely is improving, and definitely a clear path opening up for artists to reach monetization and their fans without middlemen taking too much. And I think that's kind of where we're headed. Tony, if you'd like to speak on Aura a little bit, maybe.
Yeah, well, and I mean, just kind of more broadly, I think from like what's interesting, even with like what the Fluff did in terms of, being able to swap out backgrounds and swap out music potentially, and, scenes, and have all that integration there, that creates a really an interesting opportunity for other artists to basically say that any of those fluffs can become a channel. And if you can choose to swap out music in the background, that creates this, you're flexing essentially. And if you want Snoop's music in the background, cool. If you want Gino's music, nice. If you want Morgan's music, like, you can do that. And so I think the key to that kind of points even more abstractly than that. If you look at platforms like Spotify or, iTunes or whatever, the holy grail for an artist, for a musician, would be to put their content out there once and make it available. And the smart contract just spells out the terms of how that can be interacted with. And people can integrate that into other NFTs. They can integrate that into music platforms. They can integrate that into, they can buy the individual track themselves just to have at home. And that would mean that one piece of content and one action can support every opportunity for the artist. And then that artist just gets automatically paid on everything that's happening around that content. And that would be the grail scenario. When we were building the platform for Aura, it was basically like, if you're a fan and you buy a piece of music, or you buy a movie, or you buy a game or whatever, you become a peer in the network, which effectively is your means of being a fan and supporting the distribution of that content. Just like, the good old torrent days of if you downloaded a piece of music via torrent and you wanted to host that content, you could keep that content on your computer and let everybody else in the world who wanted to get access to it give access to it. Obviously, that doesn't pay the artist, and it sucks, and it's unfortunate that that's still a considerable amount of the internet traffic today. But it only exists because if you could incentivize the fans to continue to host that content and in a licensed way, such that the artists were getting paid, you can still have that system exist and the content be available, with the fans being the ones that are getting paid in part of the process for supporting the network and ensuring that the content is always there and highly available. So, like, if I buy a, an MP3 or a full length album, a single or an album, like I can host that and ultimately get paid. There's other things like Looks Rare, they're just straight up saying like, you don't really even have to own anything. Just stake our tokens and we'll we'll kick you back some royalties, which is also kind of nice, I guess. But there is that fan artist connection that I think is really powerful. And, from a fan side, you wanting to support that artist and getting rewarded for it is interesting and important. But then also from the artist side, not having to manage 50 different relationships with all the different platforms. Like you just push it up once and have it interacted with in every possible way, and get paid every time. That would be the grail. We're a little ways from that, I think, but
hey, John and the others, I have a quick question. Have you found any good platforms for sort of maintaining the relationship with the buyers when you're selling music NFTs? Is there like a go-to system for, reaching out to your patrons and keeping that relationship healthy and notifying them? Like, what's the middleware with that? I'm still very new to all this, but I'm just curious how people are managing those relationships.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if there is like the way Spotify works is they don't really work with anybody directly. They work with a bunch of aggregators so that they don't have to manage a bunch of relationships. And so, that needs to exist in this space as well. And I don't think it does, where you basically you as an artist could push your content into a pool of content, and then anybody could come to that pool of content and find that piece of content that they want to incorporate into, whether it's sell that track individually or, put it as a piece of music behind a TV show or whatever. And in order for them to get access to that, they would have to pay into that contract basically to get access to that. I don't think anybody solved that problem. I mean, Royal is kind of starting to touch on it, and but it's still, for music and unclear how that's going to work. I mean, even particularly from a securities perspective. Of course, the music industry came out, and the first thing they said was, "This is going to violate securities laws." So, they all got scared. And but we've been digging around and trying to, figure this out ourselves, like solve this problem ourselves, because we've always felt like it should just be that an artist can publish something once and then that can be made broadly available. It's just a tough problem to solve, and I don't think anybody's really cracked it yet.
Yeah, because I've only done one drop and I'm very new to it all, but I feel like I don't know who bought it because it's anonymized, and I don't know if I can, if OpenSea is improving their ways to communicate and those kind of permissions to allow to reach those fans, but I don't know if they're bots or if they're real people. And it felt like this very cold transaction of like,
probably a bot.
Yeah, it's like it's some bot that's flipping them. Was it a diehard fan? How do you distinguish who is a real fan from a bot? And how do you filter that?
Yeah. Well, and Gino mentioned that too, and I think it's an important point that like true decentralization in this space it would just be tough to achieve, and the hybrid systems are the ones that ultimately consumers and mass markets will go to. And that creates that opportunity for you to know who is behind a purchase, right, and for you as an artist to be able to interact with them. I mean, people used to, like the early days of Coinbase, everybody, the Bitcoin maxis were like, I'm never using Coinbase because it's centralized. I have to log in with a username and password. And now, they have 75 million customers, and people don't care that you log in. And it's a trusted layer, it's a convenience layer. And I think from a fan perspective, knowing who, and from an artist perspective, if you're putting something out there that has things attached to it, like you can buy this one-of-one album and it's going to get you backstage at my show, and these things that might have a more personal touch to it, you kind of want to know who that is.
Right, I was just going to say, Mariah Carey. Mariah Carey's not doing that. J-Lo's not doing that. Ariana's not doing that.
Random.
I think the beauty. I think the beauty of it is that you can, if you want to be, still be that. Like you can be anonymous and you can use a fully decentralized system if you want. But I think the 99.9% of people are, they're going to gravitate towards what's a little bit more comfortable, what is a little centralized. Everyone wants true decentralization until their NFT gets stolen, and then they contact OpenSea to get that out of the throat. You know what I mean? So it's like, I think it's, it's interesting. But to answer your question, Morgan, no, like I don't think there is really any. I think just like communicating through. I think that's why Discord has been so poppin'. There's really no other way to like connect.
Actually, there Etherscan just launched this new tool that allows you to send a message to a Ethereum
that is
address.
Cool. Wow.
Really?
Yeah. I just discovered it like yesterday, and I was like, "This is amazing."
That's insane.
So I'm just chatting with this address.
What was that? Sorry.
Is that only with an ENS name or with any address?
No. You can put in any like wallet address.
Okay, but here's my question to that. Isn't like what's stopping this mass spam?
Spam, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Just like what is essentially happening with like. Yeah, I mean that's in theory a very question. Cool. Yeah, like in theory a very cool, exciting idea. But like if I'm, Drake and I launch my project, well, his Etherscan address. Yeah. Good luck. You know what I mean? But yeah, in theory that's really cool, and I'm sure it's because there's always been a situation where I'm like, damn, like I want to buy this. Like I wish I could reach out to the buyer or the holder rather. And, you know,
right.
That's cool. Anyway, so thank you for that information. I'm gonna check that out for sure.
I'm curious if any of you have any experience or have seen anything in the metaverse world that allows collaboration in a space without too much delay or lag between the two users. And this is something me and buddy mine Kilhofer have talked about a lot, of being able to collaborate, me being in Ohio, him being wherever, and be in the same room. And maybe that's a MIDI keyboard appears that is plugged into your computer and it's in the room, but he's playing in his room, and there is some feedback system of collaboration that could happen in real time. Is anybody on this chat familiar with any tools like that, or have you seen anything or have any thoughts on if that's even possible, or what that would look like?
I feel like I'm not really. They have virtual. They have like certain plugins where you can like listen to someone playing live, and I don't think it's been
There's a
well
couple
yet.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. I don't think they're by any means seamless. I can't remember the one. I think it's called Break Room or something like that. But it's kind of like virtual meetup spaces that I know some people have used for music, and I think it's pretty still heavy, kind of typical VR technologies. So pretty clunky in most cases with that kind of social VR stuff. But
TeamSpeak.
Yeah.
Well, and that kind of gets into the broader question of like, even from the metaverse perspective, and kind of like what we're seeing with Fluff, and like I reached out to Aaron and even chatted with Brooke a little bit on DMs just about like how we can potentially incorporate some of that into what we're doing. And we have VR apps and we're on PlayStation VR and Oculus Quest and so I was asking, of course, like how can we get the burrows in our apps? But that's Unreal. They're built in Unreal Engine in our apps in Unity, and so this question has come up for us internally as well. And it's like, how can there's no real metaverse play yet. I mean, Sandbox and Decentraland and a few of these things are starting to pop up, but it's still pretty clunky to move assets between worlds. Right. And what ends up being the standard on that, like audio files are pretty easy JPEGs are pretty easy. Videos, pretty easy. The 3D objects start to get more challenging because depending on the engine that it's created in, that can have limitations associated with it. And then there's, of course, if you own an NFT, you own largely across the NFT ecosystem, you own the rights to that character or something. But there's still, I'm seeing across some of these projects that people are still a little concerned about protecting the brand of that. And so it's not like you can just go throw the brand around and be like, if we integrated Burrows into our app, into the Rad apps, and we started throwing around that, like, we've integrated Fluff World. Do they get mad? Is it an official partnership? Or, I don't have, I'm not worried at all about Fluff World. I mean, Aaron's an advisor to us, on our project on Aura and Rad. And so I'm not worried about Fluff World necessarily, but like, if we start doing things with like Bored Apes or, Deadheads or whatever, like, do they get frustrated about how deeply we're integrating and leveraging their brand, let alone like the complexities around, which game engine was it made in? And, like even Gino, maybe this is a good question for you, like based on your kind of insight in the Fluff world. I mean, we're connected to those guys and we talk on Telegram and whatnot. We've obviously bought into the project through the DAO, and we're looking at integrations, but like, what are you seeing on the inside there as integrations and partnerships? Maybe there's alpha in this response. Yeah. Maybe there's I know you probably got some. Maybe you got some NDAs too.
I do. So I think like the beauty of Web3 is like you should be able to, in theory, use it, right? And I think this is where like certain licensing things have come up and have kind of been a hot button issue with like Larva Labs and I saw something about Clonex. Maybe this is a good Vanessa question later, but there was something with Clonex, with Murakami traits or something. I don't know.
Yeah, they reserved them, and you don't own the rights. Yeah.
Yeah, but I think like in theory, like you should be able to, I guess, as long as you own the assets, use those specific NFTs. Now the question is, I guess that's kind of tricky. Like, for example, like, could you build a video game? Like, could you build a Bored Ape video game, but you don't own the actual apes?
Right.
Or like, let's say you do, for sake of, all right, like me, like I have 3 mutants, right? So let's say, could I build a video game and have like my 3 Bored Apes be the character and call it like fucking, Bored Apes in space or something?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. Like, and maybe that's, I don't know. This is not really my wheelhouse.
Well, this is such an interesting conversation. This is something Vanessa's our head of branding at Rad and Aura, and this is something we've talked about at length, and Infinite Third and I and Brooklyn as well. If you can go out and change your ape, and people are changing the clothes, they're changing some accessories, they're adding hats, they're adding earrings, they're adding chains. If you can change whatever you want, then what do you own? And it's going to be very interesting as the space develops. What Tony said, and Gino, when will we see the first cease and desists? Will they come from the top down, from Bored Ape Yacht Club, the empirical brand, the top entity, whatever that means? That if they're out raising money, then they're going to have to answer to a board, and they're going to have to answer to whoever's putting that money in. And then they also have to answer to a community. And I don't know if the community is asking the right questions in all of the projects. It seems that some communities are asking tough questions, but it doesn't seem like anybody really has answers yet. And this is kind of where we are feeling our way through the space of how is this going to play out and what rights do people own? And it'll be interesting to see if one ape owner infringes on the rights of another ape owner that has created some piece of content, or there is some confusion of, just several years ago, I think it was Rockefeller, Jay-Z, and there's a chef that they were in a multi tens of millions dollar lawsuit of the rights to use their names. And it's a pretty interesting thing to have a worldwide headbutting of, oh, I have these rights here, I have these rights here, but we're not in the same country with the same rights and the same copyrights. And that is kind of what we're doing here. We are erasing all the borders of the traditional world in the Web3 world, but then we're still having to figure out where these boundaries are and where the rights of one person begin and the rights of another end. I think you're right, Gino. That's going to be a pretty interesting play moving forward. I'm really interested to see what goes on, especially with Fluffs and Bored Apes, as they are as dynamic of collections as can be. And, Bored Apes have 40,000 pieces in them now. And I don't even know how many pieces the Fluff world has. 150,000 maybe approaching 200,000. I'm not sure of the actual numbers of all the collections, but a lot of pieces in there and a lot of moving parts.
I think it's going to be a lot of asking for forgiveness instead of permission in this space. I mean, It's already happened.
It's my favorite quote. It's an quote. I asked God for a bike. Then I remember God didn't work that way, so I stole a bike and I asked for forgiveness.
That's a beautiful.
My favorite quote.
That's awesome. That is awesome.
Yeah, I think you're right, though. I think it's, especially with music, right? That's the real challenge and the real question that we're having. I'm bringing in huge names to Fluff, right? To drop, party packs and different stuff. And yeah, the question that keeps coming up is like, well, what are the rights? Like, what can they do with this music? And I think that's going to be just like on a drop per drop basis. Certain producers are like, yo, you don't own the license to this. Like, they can own the NFT, they can trade the NFT, they can sell the NFT, but like, you can't drop a song with my music, And I think other people might be like, yeah, who gives a shit? You own it. Do what you want with it.
Until it gets 100 million views, and then let's have another conversation.
Right, until they start feeling away. But that's, again, you can't complain if that's what you want to do. If you want to make your music CCO and you believe in that model and like you make your money on the front end and you don't care as much about the back end because it's more about the, the community and building and creating value and then too bad. Too bad. If someone drops a record using here's the thing people don't realize though. Like if someone drops a record using your song, like let's say you drop a collection and the people that own it own the rights to use it and they put it out and it goes crazy. Well, guess what? That's going to bring crazy value to your brand.
Right.
And create royalties within your collection. So anyway, that's that on that.
I wonder what Metallica thinks.
I have to jump pretty soon.
Great. That's fun.
Quick questions you wanted to ask me before I shoot? And you guys obviously can continue.
Well, I'd love. We really appreciate your time, Gino. And if you'd like to show your upcoming drop, any details or any alpha you can give us on your drop that's coming in March.
So I can't really talk about that because we have a crazy rollout planned, and I will say it's gonna be really cool. What's really fun for me is I'm not actually the producer, so I'm bringing in a huge 7-time Grammy winner, like one of the biggest producers in the space, in the industry, in the game,
right.
To do the actual music component. But it's just me as like a businessman, and like
awesome.
Me as a trying to disrupt the industry and create a really cool product, and I'm fortunate and blessed to be able to like do music shit in NFTs and do music shit in IRL. And this for me is more about creating like a project and an experience and kind of a proof of concept for producers. Like, yo, this is what you can do in this space. And like, this is a new way for you as a producer, as an artist, to to release content and like make money and create a community that a lot of these behind the scenes guys have never experienced.
Right.
And it's kind of, but also just like, I'm a huge nerd, man. I'm a big video game guy. Like I want to create an experience, not just like an audio NFT.
Sure.
So that's what we're doing with our project. And
awesome.
Believe me, once I start rolling it out, you won't be able to. I'm gonna be blasting it so crazy.
Well, we look forward to it.
You won't have to worry about that.
We look forward to it.
Whitelist for everybody in this space.
That's right. Yeah. Well, everyone in Fluff World is gonna have a whitelist.
Cool.
And happy to give them out to your community as well. And
that's good.
Yeah, we'll chat more about it, obviously. But
great.
Yeah, I'm excited for that. And I want to thank you guys for having me. And if anybody in here wants to like ask me any questions, just reach out. Just follow me and shoot me a DM or whatever, and I'll get to you. And
great.
Yeah, and then if you guys are coming to Fluff House, I'm hosting Fluff House.
Woo.
In LA, so that's gonna be nuts. So if you
Fun.
can make it out, nice. Yeah, tap in. But all right, guys.
All right, thank you so much, Gino. We really
Gino.
appreciate you joining. Thanks for all your contributions to the Space King. We'll talk to you soon.
Yeah. Bless up. All right, guys.
All right. That was great. It looks like we lost Morgan, and it looks like Bill dropped off as well. Everybody's got kids these days. They got to go. They only got little bits of time. So, thanks to everybody that's tuned in. We still got a couple things to talk about. I know Brooklyn was going to give us a few more details on our upcoming Biggie drop. We announced Monday that we will be releasing some never before seen images from one of the biggest rappers of all time, and Brooklyn promised us we'd get a little more alpha on that today. Brooklyn, would you like to say a few words on that project and maybe give us some more details on the space next Friday?
Brooklyn's out surfing right now.
Yeah, he might be. He might be.
He might have got rugged on the call too.
Yeah. Well, he's still here. When he jumps back in, we can hit that. It's been so we have our community update. We'll be posting later today in Discord, and we'll post the link on Twitter. And Tony will update our Medium, I'm sure. But we had a great week with Rad this week. Lots of new developments in the Web3 space with content, and we got several conversations moving along very well to get some other big pieces of content onto the Rad platform, and several NFT experiences in the pipeline. Having some really big conversations with I can't even say, I don't even want to say the words of the industries that they're in, so I'm not going to. But having some great chats with people, and it really seems like every facet of life and every industry is looking at our space intensely. And I mean, the calls we're having weekly are with traditional Web 2 titans that have no clue what's going on and are really looking to get a footing in the space. So that's been a really exciting development to me in the past couple weeks, is seeing how much interest there are from these Web 2 companies into what we're doing and eyeing our space. And it appears to me very frothy, and it seems like there is more money coming to this space than anyone could have estimated or predicted a year ago. Just really, really insane, especially with the way, fluffs and clones are moving. It's just nonstop huge sales, and punks as well. And, Gino brought up the punks and Larva Labs and DMCAing their original punks, and saying that, they're not official punks. There's just so much going on in the space to pay attention to. It feels like you cannot keep up with everything. So to have a space like this and connect with our community, I'd love to hear if anybody else in the space, any of our community members, if you have any questions or would like to chime in, just request, and we'll be hanging out here for just a few more minutes. Is Brooklyn gone? Did he drop off? It looks like he did.
He said he was trying to get back in, and then it wasn't letting him, and then
maybe he's reconnected.
Looks like there's one request here.
I do see. I see.
Thank Kiriaki.
Accepted.
Okay, well,
Yeah, Saint.
All right. Looks like he's connected.
And we got Guns too. I want to shout out Guns again. We gave you the props at the beginning. Gunner, really appreciate you in our community. You're a wonderful community member, and connecting those dots, just saying a couple words on Twitter connected us with Gino and created a great space for us today. So Gunner, thank you very much for your contributions to our project and our community. You're a great community member. We're happy to have you.
Hey, well, thanks for putting up with you guys. I do have a question for you, though, moving forward. So just so you guys know, I don't talk much, and this is kind of new to me, so nervous as shit. But, no big deal.
Welcome. No stress.
No big deal.
I normally keep my mouth shut, and I'm just like, where's the alpha, and move on kind of thing, right? But I just want to do first shout out to Tony, man. Like, Tony's been killing it in the Discord. I feel more and more comfortable every 2 weeks that he posts this big, hey, this is where we're at, this is what we're doing. And there were some dark times, when I first invested with Ara blocks, and we moved past that, and I just see such great info coming down the pipe, and the building is going, and I'm pretty damn comfy with it. So I love hanging out when I can. So big shout out to Tony there.
Yeah, appreciate it. And it's the whole team is in there, but it's just like, we made a conscious decision because we had a whole private like team Discord and chat that we had going on, and so our team got mostly used to just communicating with each other. And even in our own Discord, we still have like obviously like team groups where we can sit there and just chat about like bugs that we see or whatever, like things like that. Most of the dev chat also moved to the open dev chat channel, and then we made the conscious decision to say we need to merge our team Discord with the community Discord, because it's all community. Like we're all in this together, we're all building, and that's when that changeover really happened. And we started to try to be very conscious about openly communicating, being very transparent about what's being built, who we're talking to, what's coming down the pike, and so that changeover happened, and it was interesting. Like the early part of us putting Ara on DeFi, like when we got it out there initially, Tyler, we worked with Tyler at when he was at Consensus, and so he actually was like OG helping us put together Ara in like 2018. And when he saw us very intentionally kind of at the end of the year in 2020, we said, we're gonna get Ara back out there. And we had I'm gonna write up a whole blog post about this at some point, about how we had to basically like kind of back burner the tech that we were building for a minute. And part of that was due to it was basically crypto winter. The team we were working with inside Consensus completely folded and went sideways. There was a bunch of kind of legal questions that kept coming up about, you're a U.S. company and are you building securities? And we were building for consumptive use, which, Ara, it's still the vision today. But when we got it back out on DeFi, that was just a few of us individuals who said, let's just put this out there. And because the token itself had been on mainnet since mid 2019. And so when we put it out there, though, like Tyler found it and was like, holy shit. Like we were on the phone with him at like 2 a.m., just catching up on everything and talking about how we could work together. And he started aping in, and like people know his wallet. So like then that brought other people in, and there was just no liquidity in the pool. So there was a huge price impact, and which meant that there was like a lot of excitement and a lot of price impact with very little liquidity. And so we had to like figure out quickly how to solve that problem from a liquidity perspective in DeFi, where if you look at what a lot of projects do now is they bootstrap the network with DeFi in mind. And, there's huge distribution of the tokens early on, which then over time builds into, a lot of liquidity in the market with like real support for the price. And that caused like, obviously us putting a lot of tokens out into the world caused some price impact. and that then ultimately we have to build from that point, and that's where we are now, and being transparent about us, what we're building and what's coming, and we signed a market maker agreement with GSR to get listed on centralized exchanges, and gone through all the KYC for that, and they do like DD on the team, and they look at your legal opinion letters that to make sure that you're, and that costs money and that takes time. And so, all of that work has been in the process, and that's what we've been doing and building. And then the goal kind of with us getting into the Discord and being a little bit more transparent and starting to have these spaces, and all that stuff kind of lines up and makes sense. And so we're super grateful for the community who saw the kind of diamond in the rough, and us, and our dream. We're building this stuff because philosophically we deeply care about it. And this isn't a thing where we came up with an idea, we put it out there, and everybody's we're gonna stop doing it at some point. Like we love this. We believe that artists and creators should be getting paid more. We believe that fans should be, incentivized in the network and earning in the success. And, there's still a lot of work that needs to be done in content and crypto and blockchain. And so we're at the very beginning of what will be, Web3 in the next 10 to 20 year cycle of technology in the space. So, we certainly appreciate that, and so we're trying to stay active and loud and as transparent as we possibly can, because you guys believe in us, and we see that we share a vision, and we're in this together. So appreciate it.
Right on, and I would love to read that blog post, because I remember the TG. I don't touch Telegram anymore, but I was in there when he moved, and he decided to change some of his tokens to help be the main liquidity provider, and that was that was quite the show.
Yeah. I mean, we obviously, like, a few of us individually kind of created the initial liquidity in the pool, and that also, from a regulatory perspective, is dangerous territory. And so the fact that we were able to kind of switch that to be more community driven, and then create LP incentives, that's another piece of the puzzle. And then also, like, everybody's seen this in Telegram. Like, Telegram is really difficult to manage, and it can be toxic at times. And we take the approach that everybody who's working on this is, they're believers in it. And, obviously we're trying to create value and build value into the network. And so whenever we have negative energy, or people coming in there and constantly shitting on, complaining about things, especially like, why is the price low, or why aren't you guys doing anything? It's like the worst thing to have happen. And on Telegram, it's a real challenge to kind of keep the community in the right topics and the right voice. And not to say that, like, people shouldn't be able to be critical. We absolutely listen to, feedback and try to be mindful of that, and as much as we possibly can. But yeah, like, Telegram from a management overhead is a huge pain in the ass to manage. And so we limited how we post on. We had Facebook, Instagram, Telegram, Discord, Twitter. We had an internal Slack channel that we were chatting on, and some people even have Signal chat, direct chats going. And so, like, we were just driving ourselves crazy from a communication perspective. So unifying that around Discord creates a better opportunity for community, a better opportunity for transparency, and it simplifies our management overhead, because, like, we only have so many cycles in the day.
Right. Well, I'm gonna step down a little bit here. Maybe somebody else has got something. I do have another question, maybe for Cameron if there's time at the end, but it's not a big deal. I can throw it in Discord some other day.
Shoot it now, King.
Now,
we're here. Why don't you just ask now? Go ahead and ask now.
Okay. So I just wanted to ask, like, your opinion, because you're a content creator and you're good at what you do. I was curious, like, it's something that I actually love as retail is being able to buy something tangible. And what Rad kind of does on the side, and I don't think we hype it nearly enough, but they have the items that you can get, the posters and the pictures and that kind of stuff when they buy the NFT. And I think we need to hype that more, because me personally, I get so excited when 2 weeks later, I get something in the mail. I own this really wicked NFT. And then next thing you know, I also get something to go along with it, whether it's a poster or a picture. And even if it's straight up digital, sometimes I will take an NFT and I will just have it as a screensaver, or maybe I've been thinking about getting like a photo frame. So that's still the digital side. But long story short is an example is when Jadu came out with their hoverboards. They did something awesome, and they connected with a snowboard company, and they were able to digitally print your own hoverboard, number and everything, onto a snowboard and get it mailed to you. Of course, you're paying for it, but true believers would do that. It's pretty sick.
Absolutely, yeah. You're right. We could hype that up more than we have. We did the Life at Stake, and we did the Amazing Mr. X. Both we wrapped as NFTs and sold access tokens to those 4K videos on our platform, both of which were the first to be done. And we sent out physical DVDs and the posters framed to those auction winners. And that's a great transition into this, into our next drop that we have coming up. Well, I say our next, we have several in the pipeline that I won't give any details on other than this one right now, but we have our pinned tweet on Twitter right now is of one of the biggest rappers of all time. I'm sure all of you are familiar. And part of that auction is going to be 10 different images, never before seen images from the iconic Biggie photo shoot with the Source magazine. And each of those images is going to come with the negative itself, framed and signed by the photographer. And we'll be shipping those negatives to the auction winners. And that is, to me, I'm really looking forward to being able to do exactly what you just said, Gunnar. Purchase something and actually own it everywhere. I think it's really disheartening and shitty, for lack of a better word, that you go out and buy a DVD these days and you don't immediately get a wonderful, equally crafted digital piece that goes with your physical DVD. And I think it should come with a easy place to store and collect as total seamlessness from digital to physical world. There's just no reason to be splitting things. And I'm early everywhere I go. So like saying words like this now, I'm probably 6 years early to that being the norm. And I actually just saw yesterday, if anybody else saw, did you see Nike is suing StockX over their Jordan NFT drop? I did just see that. It's pretty we spoke about it last week on our space that StockX dropped their physical backed NFTs. So if you purchase the NFT version, you actually own the physical shoe that they store for you at their facility, and you can go in and claim. And I was very excited about that. I think it's a wonderful move, and that is, it's basically they're making a derivative of a Nike product with the Nike logo on it and selling it, and Nike is saying, no, you won't. And you're basically selling Nike's brand. So this is another one of those interesting, who's gonna send the cease and desist, and where is it gonna come from, and where do these lines stop crossing, and where does ownership cease? And it's a pretty interesting time just across the board. It feels like everything is merging into Web3. You pretty much can't have a conversation that entails one specific part of any industry, because Web3 is eating everything. And it's, go ahead, V.
Yeah, no, I was just going to agree with you. Also, I feel like it doesn't surprise me at all that this lawsuit is happening, though, because it's like so clearly part of Nike's longer term strategy going forward to do exactly what StockX is doing. And so for them to do it with the Nike brand is
right.
It's going to really tee them off, you know? I mean, really, like, that was, I think, part of the whole kind of like alignment with how the Artifact acquisition happened, and Nike made the choice to buy them, and Artifact, I guess, made the choice to sell them, because that was like, Artifact was doing that last April with their Punk and Staple and Ferocious like shoe drops, where you'd buy like a digital version, but then you'd also get like a physical shoe, which I also totally agree with you. And I think it's like such a cool, interesting value add to the Web3 like NFT space right now to like also get a physical piece with it. And I think it's not that far off in terms of reality to think about most, like a lot of things that we have digitally or physically today, like in the future coming with whatever the counterpart of that is, you know, like you buy a car and you get some sort of like NFT on the blockchain, like
right, or title registration, just something. Yeah,
exactly. Or, you know, like you buy like a sneaker NFT, and that allows you to then go claim like a physical sneaker. So anyway, yeah,
imagine having a wallet full of NFTs that you purchased of shoes, and you're like, this is my sneaker collection, and then you get help in Discord and somebody steals your wallet and now they show somebody showing up to StockX with your wallet of like, hey, I'm here to collect my my 100 pair of physical sneakers. It'd be so much worse.
Like, okay, this is like similar with like ownership in your wallet. Like, I wouldn't want StockX, I haven't looked into that drop, but I wouldn't want StockX like holding my sneakers.
Right.
You know, like if I claim them, like I want them.
I feel the same way.
But it goes kind of full circle to what you were talking about earlier, Cam, of like, you know, we all live in the like kind of digital, we live on the internet, in the metaverse, whatever you want to call it, like so much in our lives these days, and there's no real way to kind of like flex or show what you have. So like, imagine you could have your entire sneaker collection in your wallet, and it was the in real life sneakers that you had at home in your closet. So when you do meet up with your friends, you know, you're also able to wear your sneakers.
Flex everywhere.
That's that Gary Vee video really hit me more than probably any video I saw, attempting to sell people on the space last year, at the end of last year. And he posted they're like, well, he's like, you can't see my blue check on Instagram, or can you? He's like, yeah, right. You know, it's there. You know, I'm verified on Instagram. You know, I'm verified on Twitter. And now you know that I have a $300,000 profile pic and that I actually own it. And I don't have to say anything. You just see it. It doesn't take me pulling up to the club in this nice car and only people see me for 5 minutes, get in and out of the car. This is something that actually represents me 100% of the time. And anytime they look at it, it's like you're always in the Lamborghini. You're always in the Ferrari or whatever it is, as opposed to it's parked out front and valet will pull it up for the 3 minutes that people out front can see. It's just a major shift culturally. We still have several people that are active speakers in here. Does anybody else have any questions for the team while you have everyone here? We got Kevin, former Spotify. We've got our CEO, John Anthony, Tony in here. We've got Vanessa, our head of branding, and Prasad.
Hey, what's up?
Hello. Go ahead, Saint. How are you? Thanks for joining us.
Hey, Hi, thanks. I just wanted to, I want to talk about so many things, but I just wanted to just say, hey, I'm so grateful for the RAD team, and I think the name's really rad. Homage to, homage to Kyle Elliott, who turned me on to RAD. So that's how I became aware of your community here, and I'm excited to grow with y'all and add a lot of value and be a supportive person in so many different ways that won't, all be on this intro call here, but I look forward to growing with everyone. And, I'm a content creator. I'm from Detroit, Michigan. I'm Greek. I grew up in the Detroit electronic music scene before DJs were popular in Western civilization.
Awesome.
Yeah,
girl, I'm from Michigan too. I'm from Michigan.
Ricky Houghton for sure. Where in Michigan?
I'm over on the west side of the state right now, but
you're in Michigan right now.
I'm in Michigan right now. Yeah.
So
we're all in the snow globe.
Yeah. Sorry, not to interrupt you.
Novi area.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So my mom and dad are there, and during the lockdown stuff, I went home to visit my grandma, my 92-year-old grandma, who's super healthy. Thank God. It's who I'm named after, Saint Kyriaki, Greek saint. And I ended up I went there for for her birthday, 7 to 10 days, and I ended up just staying for a year. There was no reason to leave.
I think that's what a lot of us have done this past 2 years.
Yeah.
Go for vacation and escape.
Yeah, and I do voiceovers every day for my everyday work and my podcasting. So I built my Hollywood little girl dreams, from growing up in Michigan. Then I'm in my closet auditioning for Disney and blah, blah, blah. And I was reflecting, I built a state of the art, beautiful in my walk-in closet in my home. Who would have thought my little girl dreams of going to Hollywood that I would be bringing, the entertainment industry to my closet. It's super full circle after over 2 years of being in the entertainment industry and traveling the world. I got into this space with blockchain in 2018. My friend pulled me in as a DJ. I was DJing downtown LA, Hollywood Hills, in New York. They were raising funds for blockchains, and it was so cool because I was able to have a perspective on, this kind of blockchain, or these people from Asia, or the 1111 fund was the first one. And then there was the Gear Foundation, which is Larry King was the speaker. I had video of Larry King speaking about blockchain, when he was alive.
Wow.
Yeah. And it was all about being green and sustainable. And so for me, I was a kid in a candy store, so I'm I get to see what platforms I want to, admire and share with people and be a part of from a blockchain perspective. And it was weird, private jet companies and stuff. They were having me produce and curate influencer dinners and stuff. And I was giving them and a guest a free round trip on a private jet, blah, blah, blah. It was really cool. Anyway, it was all over my head. I didn't know what I was doing, but I was just doing it. I was flowing with it. And then I kind of it's a journey, right? It's a process. It's not overnight. And then what happened was when Blau blew up the space at the beginning of 2021, when he revolutionized the music industry on the blockchain, that's when I was head in again. And then Grimes released, hers on Nifty Gateway a couple weeks later. So anyways, long story short, I'm totally involved in the community. There's an article that came out on the 12th on Variety. Y'all probably saw it. There's only 5% of women. Vanessa, what's up? And the ladies in here. Yeah, there's only 5% of women in this space. And, my girl, Jessica, who's the creative director at Vayner NFT, we were talking and blah, blah, blah. And it really made me realize a few months ago, I am spearheading and leading with the other, community friends that I have who are ethical, who are having the language. 'Cause I heard you have some issues about the Discord and the community and the mind growth of how, to approach this, and which is so critical in the beginning stages. So offline, I could probably support you in that area.
Awesome.
Also,
amazing.
this is just a baseline thing, but I heard earlier people were saying, and this is just educational to support, but I heard someone earlier saying like whitelist, but like you're going to see now and you'll hear it here, like no one's saying whitelist anymore. It's clear list or exclusive pre-sale list, because y'all can know why. So we're not saying whitelist anymore.
Right.
Yeah. But otherwise, this other thing I'm really excited about, because you mentioned earlier, an exclusive photo nobody's ever seen. Well, one of my photographer friends, he has an exclusive photos of DMX, and that no one's ever seen,
right.
and that. Yeah, so I can I curate, we have stuff we can talk about, but one of my celebrity photographer friends who has shot anyone you can think of, John Favreau, Lopez, like Paris, whatever, everyone, has all these images, for over 25 years now, and the company, right before everything blew up on the blockchain, the company went out of business. So he owns 1,000% the rights to everything.
Yep.
And he wants to get involved and on board. I'm onboarding a bunch of people, especially women. So yeah,
awesome.
We can talk more about stuff, but those are just some kind of things I wanted to open the conversation.
Very cool.
And whatever y'all want to chat about.
Well, thank you for joining us, Saint. That's awesome that you have so much experience in the space in such a short period of time. And yes, please join our Discord, and love to have, community members that are as positive as you are, and keeping the flow of conversation in a vein that's acceptable for our community.
And we can totally have direct calls too. I mean, we chat, like when we were working with the Deadheads team, or reaching out to Stoner Cats or whatever, like jumping on calls. And Discord's great to just have kind of community chat, impromptu. Wake up, say good morning. Here's all the announcements. We announced the Biggie drop in there before we actually announced it live out to the world. But it sounds like there may be some additional, things to chat about as like a deep dive. And so we can totally have a call, like a direct call. If you want to hit us up, I'm just Tony at rad.live. Vanessa's V at rad.live. Cam is Cam at rad.live.
Yep.
So, you can message us and we can jump on a call and actually, jam on ideas too.
Yeah, I would love that. That sounds really great. I'll just message the main rad inbox, and then for those emails, and my assistant can organize all that stuff for us.
Awesome.
I would love that. Sounds really, really exciting. Congratulations on being so rad and all the stuff you're bringing to the space.
Nah, you're fine. No, thank you for joining us, Saint. Great energy. And more. We need all the women in the space we can get. We've been hesitant. I've tweeted a few times about V being the art lead on the Rad Pandas and it being woman led, but I don't. It's tough to put those things on the timeline and not feel like you're wanting some direct response of like, buy our stuff because it's women led. And I feel like, V is very prominent in the space. She's a very active community member, and I think she does a great job speaking.
I'm about to get way more loud about that. I don't care.
Well,
True.
Yeah.
This is straight up. It's straight up. Like Vanessa is so she's OG on the team.
Yeah.
And Founders Equity. She's in the board meetings. Like Vanessa may not say this stuff out loud herself because she's
she's done it all. Yeah. But
the head. She's the queen.
Yeah. The head of she brought Louis V into the digital world, and then now she made Rad Pandas, and like the Rad Pandas to me are some of the most beautiful NFTs I've seen, and with the utility they have, it's tough to put those words on the timeline and not be sounding arrogant or needy or pushy of we deserve purchases because it's woman led. It's more saying it to normalize the energy than it is to get some reciprocity of sales or something. It's more of just being, there's no reason that this should even be a thing. It should be 50-50, it shouldn't even be a conversation of championing projects because they're women led. We need to get enough women in the space to where we assume teams are, more diverse and more dynamic across the board, as opposed to wanting information on that and needing to ask.
So, I can add value, support, and be a vision for Vanessa in that way, and for the RAD team, and curate things together. We can talk about that more online. So I can support Vanessa in her spearheading for the RAD team. That would be super rad. And then also doing something as a collective, like y'all do what you're doing, but integrate. It naturally, for example, when that article came out, FYI, on Variety, on the 12th, the sales increased so much for women NFTs so people could actually apply and take action and support women. So, it's pretty massive. And then also, I don't know if y'all are familiar with the Nifty Castle crew. They're legit, and they're doing this thing to empower women. It's on their website. I can send it to you. And they're going to be the deadline is X, and then they're going to be showcasing, at an NFT thing in April. So that's cool. There's collective projects you can integrate on the platform, and brainstorm in those ideas. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, we should definitely chat about that for sure.
Yeah, that's awesome.
we can schedule some time for sure.
Oh yeah, and lastly about this, this or not has to be lastly, but I was in Twitter Spaces yesterday with Jessica, and she came on stage to chat and connect and everything, and she announced that the Seattle Museum, it's all women, and in the Seattle Museum that's going to be February now through the beginning of March, and so that's super cool. And she was cool. Not screaming, but passionate and pumped about what I'm saying now, us women getting together, not to gang up, but just to come together more and rise and follow each other and do things together collectively. So, there's a space and lane for that, even more, not excluding men, no, but just divine femininity in all genders, and honoring and respecting one. And that language isn't really clear and comfortable for everyone because of the yang masculine world we're living in, and and how it's shifting for empowerment and all those good things. Yeah. But there has to be healthy communicators to explain these in brushstrokes in so
Absolutely.
People aren't so defensive or critical.
Yeah, and comfortable speaking. Yeah, giving people the availability to feel comfortable. Thank you for joining us again, Saint. It's been a great addition. And yeah, please just connect with us further in Discord. And like Tony and V said, happy to set up a time to chat. Does anybody else have any questions for the team while we're here? Hello, Mary. I see you listening the whole time. Just wanted to say hi to you.
Yeah. Got the lobby lobster.
Mm-hmm. I just invited her to speak if she'd like.
PFP. Nice.
Well, I think we've touched everything today. It's been a pretty great space. Does anybody have anything before we wrap up?
This is awesome.
Agreed. It's been a great day. Shout out again to Gino the Ghost and Gunner for connecting those dots, and MorganPage and Infinite Third,
Morgan and Billy.
Epic stop-ins. Yeah, I can't believe they both came in. Awesome, very cool, and look forward to having them on and hearing more from them.
Yeah, one really quick thing, Cam, for anyone who was on earlier when we were talking. I just put a tweet about that EtherScan messaging app where you can message an Ethereum wallet. So if anyone's interested in checking that out, disclaimer, I haven't done a ton of testing on it. I just found it and thought it was cool. But the link is in the top tweet on my thread.
And her Twitter is @VKINC. And make sure you guys follow Tony our CEO, and Kevin and Prasant are on here as well. And my account is listening. Follow us, join us on Discord, and we'll see you all here next Friday. Next Friday we'll have the photographer Ellie that took the photos of Biggie several 25 years ago plus. I don't even know how many. It'd be exciting to hear the whole story of how that came to fruition.
I've heard it. It's incredible.
I can't wait to hear it. I'm really looking forward to next Friday. I think it's gonna be a great chat. And as I said at the beginning of the call, I did record this, so maybe we'll consider putting this a few places other than just Twitter, but this it is recorded on Twitter as well, so you'll be able to listen back if you didn't make it, and hopefully we can get this out to a few other platforms one at a time.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, thank you all for joining us. Thanks,
V. Have a good weekend, everybody.
All right.
Thanks, Cam.
Yep, no problem. Bye, everyone. Have a great weekend.
Right.
Thanks for joining. Bye.
You too. All right, bye.
Ciao.
And that concludes our Twitter space for the week of February 4th, 2022. We'll see you guys next week, February 11th, with Ellie, the photographer of the Biggie NFTs that we will be releasing on Rad NFT platforms soon. Hope you all have a great weekend. Thanks for joining us.